Every trader begins with excitement. You learn a strategy, study charts, memorize patterns, and believe you're ready to face the market. You imagine yourself staying calm, following your rules, and building wealth slowly and surely. In theory, it all makes sense. You tell yourself you won't be like the others who fail. You'll be disciplined. But then the market tests you for the first time, and reality feels nothing like theory. The first test often comes not in the form of a big loss but in a small temptation. You take a trade that lines up with your plan, but as soon as it moves in your favor, your heart starts racing. You see a small profit and feel the urge to close early. You know your rules say to let it run, but fear whispers that the market might turn against you. This is the first test of discipline. Will you trust your plan, or will you listen to your emotions? Discipline is not about following rules when it's easy. It's about sticking to them when every part of you wants to break them. The market has a way of exposing your weaknesses. It knows your greed, your impatience, your need to be right. It pushes your buttons, not because it cares about you personally, but because uncertainty is its nature. And when uncertainty collides with your human instincts, you feel tested in ways that books and strategies never prepare you for. Imagine sitting in a trade that's slightly in the red. The candle flickers up and down, teasing you, threatening to hit your stop loss. You know that losses are part of the game, yet you feel anger rise in your chest. You want to move your stop lower, just to give it more room. You tell yourself, it's just a little adjustment. But in truth, this is another test. The market is asking you, do you have the discipline to accept being wrong? Or will you let pride and fear trick you into breaking your own system? Most traders fail these small tests long before they blow an account. They fail by cutting winners too early, by moving stops, by overtrading when they should be waiting. They fail not because their strategy is broken, but because they are. The irony is that the market doesn't punish you immediately when you break discipline. Sometimes you move your stop, and the trade recovers. Sometimes you close early, and price crashes afterward. For a while, it looks like you were smart. But what's really happening is even more dangerous. You're teaching yourself that breaking rules is okay. The worst habits are born in those moments where undisciplined behavior is accidentally rewarded. The market will test you with wins just as much as losses. After a winning streak, discipline is often the first thing to fade. You feel powerful, as if you can't lose. You start risking more than you should. You take trades that don't quite meet your criteria because you have a good feeling. This is greed disguised as confidence. It's a subtle test because it feels good at first. The profits trick you into thinking you've mastered the game, but really, you've fallen into the trap of overconfidence. Discipline is not about handling losses alone. It's about keeping your head when you're winning too. There is a cruel paradox in trading. The more disciplined you are, the more boring it feels. You take fewer trades. You wait longer. You follow your plan even when it means doing nothing. You ignore temptations that could give you a quick rush. And because of this, discipline feels uncomfortable in a world that constantly rewards instant gratification. This is why most traders lose. They confuse excitement with success. They think the market is supposed to thrill them. But the market doesn't reward thrill seekers. It rewards those who can sit quietly while others act recklessly. Think of trading like walking a tightrope. Each step requires balance, focus, and self-control. The rope sways beneath you, the market moves up and down, and your instincts scream at you to react. But the more you react without thought, the more likely you are to fall. Discipline is what keeps you steady on that rope. It doesn't make the rope stop shaking. It doesn't remove the fear of falling. But it allows you to move forward without losing your balance. Every test you face is like another gust of wind. The question is not whether the wind will come, it always does, but whether you can stay balanced when it hits. Discipline in trading is not just about protecting your account. It's about protecting your mind. Every time you give in to temptation, you plant doubt in yourself. You begin to lose trust in your own ability to follow through. This self-doubt then bleeds into every trade you take. Soon, even when you're in a good position, you're second-guessing yourself, hesitating, panicking. The spiral continues until you don't even recognize yourself as a trader. On the other hand, every time you stick to your rules, you build trust with yourself. You prove that you can handle pressure. That trust is worth more than any one winning trade. One of the hardest lessons traders must accept is that discipline means embracing discomfort. It means accepting that sometimes you will sit on your hands for hours or days while others seem to be making money. It means enduring drawdowns without changing your entire system. It means losing gracefully without chasing revenge trades. These moments are not signs of weakness, they are signs of strength. The weak trader avoids discomfort by chasing excitement. The strong trader accepts discomfort as part of the game. The market does not care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're disciplined or not. It doesn't care if you're desperate for money. It moves the way it moves, indifferent to your emotions. This truth can either frustrate you or free you. If you let it frustrate you, you will fight the market, trying to bend it to your will. If you let it free you, you will realize that your only job is to manage yourself. Discipline is not about controlling the market, it's about controlling your reaction to the market. The first chapter of discipline is always the hardest, because it requires you to go against your natural instincts. Humans are wired for survival, not trading. In survival mode, you act quickly when you sense danger. You grab opportunities as soon as you see them. You avoid being wrong at all costs. But trading demands the opposite. It demands patience in danger, restraint in opportunity, and acceptance of being wrong. That's why the market feels so unnatural. It asks you to behave in ways your instincts resist. Discipline is what bridges that gap. Over time, you begin to realize that discipline is not a tool you use, it is who you become. At first, you force yourself to follow rules, like a child being told to eat vegetables. It feels like a chore, something you must endure. But the more you practice, the more it becomes natural. You start to feel uncomfortable breaking your rules, even when it looks profitable. You start to value the consistency of process more than the thrill of wins. This shift marks the beginning of maturity as a trader. You are no longer just someone playing the market. You are someone becoming the casino, steady and disciplined, no matter what the gamblers around you are doing. The truth is simple but hard to live by. Trading discipline is not built in comfort, it is built in tests. Every temptation, every moment of fear or greed, every urge to act when you should wait, these are not accidents. They are the training ground. You either pass the test and grow stronger, or fail it and repeat the lesson again. Some traders spend years repeating the same lesson because they refuse to learn discipline. Others accept the pain of self-control early, and they reap the rewards for the rest of their careers. So the first test is not whether you can find the right strategy or time the perfect entry. The first test is whether you can master yourself when the market pushes your buttons. It is whether you can stick to your stop when price hovers just above it. It is whether you can sit quietly while everyone else chases noise. It is whether you can accept that trading is not about winning every battle, but about staying disciplined enough to win the war. And the real question is this: when the market tests you, will you bend to your emotions, or will you prove that discipline defines you? The greatest enemy of a trader is not the market, but the mind that interacts with it. You can build the most logical system, test it for months, prove that it works in the long run, and still find yourself breaking it the moment temptation strikes. The reason is simple. The market is a master of temptation. It doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your patience, your greed, your fear, and your ability to remain consistent when inconsistency looks more rewarding in the short term. Temptation shows up in subtle ways. You open your charts in the morning and see no clear setups. Your plan says to wait, but a candle forms that looks almost like a breakout. It's not quite the trade you're supposed to take, but the urge whispers, what if it runs without you? What if this is the move of the day? That whisper is not just about money. It's about fear of missing out, about wanting to feel in control, about not wanting to sit with the discomfort of waiting. If you give in, you've already failed the test. Not because the trade might lose, but because you abandoned discipline the moment waiting became uncomfortable. The market tempts you when you're losing too. After a losing trade, your emotions crave relief. You want to win back what you lost, to erase the sting of being wrong. The charts suddenly look full of opportunities that weren't there before. Every candle feels like a chance to get even. But this is not opportunity. It is the market dangling temptation in front of you, testing whether you can walk away instead of chasing. The undisciplined trader jumps in over and over until the account bleeds out. The disciplined trader resists, even when it hurts, knowing that doing nothing is often the most powerful decision. The cruel trick of temptation is that sometimes it rewards you. You break your rule, and the trade works. You take a setup that wasn't really valid, and you make money. At first you celebrate. You think you've proven that flexibility pays. But beneath the surface, something dangerous has happened. Your brain has learned that breaking rules feels good. Now you're trapped in a cycle where each undisciplined action is reinforced, and before long, your plan is meaningless. You become addicted to chasing setups, riding emotions, and hoping luck keeps saving you. This is how accounts are destroyed, not by one big mistake, but by 100 small temptations that you never learn to resist. Discipline in trading is about fighting battles that no one else can see. No one sees you staring at a chart, hovering your mouse over the buy button, debating with yourself whether this setup really qualifies. No one sees you after a loss, pacing in your room, convincing yourself to stay out even though your hands itch to click again. No one applauds you when you wait all day and take no trades because nothing lined up. But these invisible victories are the foundation of trading success. Passing temptations in silence is what separates those who last from those who burn out. The disciplined trader understands that temptation never disappears, it only changes form. In the beginning, temptation is about taking too many trades. Later, when you start making money, temptation shifts into risking too much. When you become consistent, temptation takes the shape of boredom, pushing you to break rules just to feel alive again. At every stage, the market adapts to test you. The moment you think you've outgrown temptation is the moment it blindsides you in a new disguise. That's why discipline is not something you practice once, it's something you carry for your entire career. The reason temptation feels so powerful is because it speaks to your deepest fears and desires. It tells you that if you don't act now, you'll miss your chance. It tells you that if you accept a loss, you're weak. It tells you that if you wait patiently, you're wasting time. It uses your emotions against you. And yet, once you see the game clearly, you realize that temptation has no real power, it's only a voice. A disciplined trader learns to recognize that voice, acknowledge it, and ignore it. The voice never stops, but it loses its grip once you stop believing it. Every trader eventually realizes that discipline is not about fighting the market, but about fighting yourself. The market doesn't care if you buy or sell, if you win or lose, if you follow your plan or abandon it. It keeps moving, but your mind cares deeply, and that's where the battle is fought. Each temptation is a mirror, showing you your weaknesses. When you give in, you learn nothing. When you resist, you grow stronger. Over time, you stop seeing temptation as an enemy and start seeing it as training. Each day is another chance to strengthen your discipline by refusing to break. Imagine a trader who treats every day like a casino owner treats gamblers. The owner knows some players will win big, others will lose, but the house always wins in the long run because the rules never change. Now imagine if the casino owner suddenly gave in to temptation and changed the rules whenever a player pressured him. That casino wouldn't last a week. This is what most traders do. They change their rules under pressure. They bend when the market tempts them, and in doing so, they destroy the very edge they worked so hard to build. The disciplined trader stays the house. No matter what gamblers do, the rules remain fixed. The test of discipline often comes when no one is watching. It comes at 2 a.m., when you're scrolling through charts and spot something that looks almost right. It comes on a Friday afternoon when you're behind for the week, and you see one last chance to make it all back. It comes when you're bored and want excitement, so you tell yourself one little trade won't hurt. These are the moments that decide your future. Not the flashy wins, not the big trades you post on social media, but the quiet decisions where you choose discipline over temptation. There's a saying in trading: you don't have to trade every day, but every day you trade yourself. What this means is simple. Whether or not you place a trade, you are either reinforcing good habits or feeding bad ones. Each choice you make builds your character as a trader. If you give in to temptation today, you make it easier to give in tomorrow. If you resist today, you make it easier to resist tomorrow. Discipline is not built in a single heroic moment. It is built in thousands of small moments where you quietly chose the harder path. The truth is, temptation never really goes away, even for professional traders. The difference is that pros expect it. They know it's coming. They know their minds will always try to pull them into shortcuts, quick fixes, and emotional decisions. But instead of fighting that reality, they prepare for it. They build routines, checklists, and structures that make it harder to give in. They treat themselves like athletes in training, aware that the real competition is not with other traders but with their own impulses. So when the market tempts you, and it will, remember that this is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you are alive, human, and trading in a world designed to test your patience. Your job is not to silence temptation but to rise above it. Each time you resist, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than the market's tricks. Each time you stay disciplined, you step closer to becoming the kind of trader who lasts. The market will always tempt you. The question is, will you let temptation write your story, or will discipline guide you through? Every trader eventually faces a choice that defines their entire career. Will you endure the short-term pain of discipline, or will you live with the long-term pain of regret? The market doesn't punish you with losses nearly as much as it punishes you for not sticking to what you already knew was right. That's the cruel irony of trading. Most people don't fail because they don't know enough. They fail because they can't do what they already know. Discipline hurts in the moment. It hurts to watch a setup that doesn't perfectly fit your plan take off without you. It hurts to walk away after 3 losses in a row instead of trying to win it back. It hurts to see other traders posting huge gains on social media while you sat out because the trade wasn't in your zone. This is the pain that makes most traders quit discipline. They don't want to sit with the discomfort of not acting, but what they don't see is that the pain of discipline is small compared to the pain of regret. The pain of regret is heavier because it comes with memory. When you break your rules and lose, you replay it over and over in your mind. You think, "Why did I click that button? I knew better." That thought lingers. It eats at you while you try to sleep. It makes you second-guess yourself on the next trade. Regret creates doubt, and doubt erodes confidence. Once your confidence is gone, your trading becomes a cycle of chasing and avoiding rather than calmly executing. One mistake snowballs into another until your account is gone, not because of strategy, but because of the emotional weight of regret. The disciplined trader understands this trade-off deeply. They would rather feel the sharp sting of discipline in the moment than the heavy chains of regret afterward. They know that missing one trade today means nothing compared to protecting their edge for the next 100 trades. They know that walking away after a loss, even though it hurts, protects them from the spiral of revenge trading that destroys accounts. They see discipline not as punishment but as protection. But why is discipline so painful in the first place? It's because the human mind craves immediacy. We are wired to want relief now, to want gains now, to want validation now. Discipline forces you to delay that gratification, to hold back when every fiber of your being wants to act. This conflict between biology and trading reality is why so many fail. You're not just fighting the market, you're fighting the very impulses your brain was built on. That's why trading is so much harder than it looks. The truth is, every disciplined decision feels like a sacrifice in the short term. You sacrifice the possibility of a lucky win when you skip a bad setup. You sacrifice the thrill of chasing when you stick to your stop loss. You sacrifice the story you could post online when you sit out a news event that wasn't part of your plan. But over time, these sacrifices add up to something powerful: consistency. And consistency is the only path to profitability. Think about the traders who have lasted 10, 20, 30 years. They're not the ones who chased every candle. They're not the ones who went all in on sure things. They're the ones who treated every day as another chance to protect their discipline. They missed trades, they let opportunities go, they felt pain in the moment, but they avoided the crushing regret of blowing accounts and starting over. That's why they're still standing while others come and go. Here's the paradox most traders never understand. Discipline feels like loss in the short term, but is the ultimate form of winning in the long term. When you skip a bad setup, it feels like you lost a chance. When you stop trading after 3 losses, it feels like you lost the opportunity to make it back. But each time you choose discipline, you're actually stacking invisible wins. You're protecting your capital, protecting your confidence, and protecting the one thing that truly matters: your ability to trade tomorrow. Regret, on the other hand, compounds in the worst way. One broken rule today makes it easier to break another tomorrow. Soon, you stop trusting yourself. You start writing rules you don't intend to follow. Your plan becomes just words on paper. And when you no longer trust yourself, the market eats you alive. It's not the losing trades that kill you, it's the loss of self-trust. Once that's gone, you're gambling, not trading. To stay disciplined when the market tests you, you have to learn to reframe the pain. When you feel the urge to break your rule, tell yourself, this is the test. This is the real work. The trade itself doesn't matter as much as the decision to stay disciplined. Every moment of temptation is a training session. The more you pass, the stronger you get. The more you fail, the weaker you become. The choice is always in your hands. You also have to remind yourself that no single trade will make you rich, but a single mistake can wipe you out. This perspective shifts the balance. Suddenly, sitting out doesn't feel like missing out, it feels like survival. You realize that trading is not about winning today. It's about staying in the game long enough to win tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year. There's a saying in the trading world, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. The ounces are the little decisions you make every day to stay patient, to follow your plan, to walk away when it's not your setup. They add up, but they never crush you. The tons come when you blow your account, when you quit after years of struggling, when you look back and realize that you never gave discipline a fair chance. That regret stays with you long after the money is gone. The irony is that the market will always offer you more opportunities. If you miss one today, another will come tomorrow. But regret is different. It doesn't leave. It sticks to your memory and colors every decision afterward. That's why discipline must always win. Every time you choose discipline, you protect your future self from the heavy weight of regret. So when the market tests you, and you feel that urge to break your rules, stop and ask yourself, which pain do I want to carry? The pain of discipline now, or the pain of regret later? The answer to that question will decide your future. Every trader eventually faces a storm. It may come in the form of a sudden market move against you, a string of losing trades, or the quiet frustration of seeing setups that never quite reach your entry before reversing in the exact direction you predicted. These storms are not just market events, they are emotional tempests. They pull at your patience, stir up your doubts, and tempt you to abandon everything you've built. And in those storms, the only anchor you have is discipline. Most traders think discipline is simply about rules on a piece of paper. They write down, don't risk more than 1%, don't chase, stick to the plan. But discipline is not about ink, it's about behavior in the heat of emotion. Discipline is tested not when you are calm, but when your chest tightens, your palms sweat, and your brain screams for relief. It's in those moments that the gap between knowing and doing reveals itself. Imagine a trader who has just taken 3 losses in a row. Each loss was by the book, within risk limits, and yet the account is down. Now the market sets up again, but this time the trader feels the storm inside. If I win this one, I'll erase the pain. If I double the risk, I can be back at break even. This is the fork in the road where careers are made or destroyed. On paper, the right decision is clear. Stick to the plan, keep risk the same, don't let emotions take over. But in the storm, that decision feels like torture. The temptation to act irrationally grows so loud it drowns out logic. The undisciplined trader breaks. They increase the lot size, they force the trade, they fight the storm by trying to control it. The market, indifferent and merciless, punishes them. Now the pain is doubled. Not only is the account further down, but the trust in themselves has shattered. The storm has dragged them under. The disciplined trader feels the same storm, but they cling to the anchor. They acknowledge the emotions without obeying them. They say, yes, I want to win it back. Yes, I feel like increasing risk. Yes, I hate being down. But my rules are my anchor, and I will not cut the rope. They take the trade as planned, or they walk away if it doesn't fit. The storm still rages, but they remain standing. And when it passes, as all storms eventually do, they are still afloat, still alive, still ready to trade another day. What most people underestimate is how violent emotions can become in trading. Fear doesn't whisper, it shouts. Greed doesn't nudge, it pushes hard. Hope doesn't calmly suggest, it seduces. These emotions aren't signs of weakness, they are signs of being human. The problem is not feeling them. The problem is when feeling becomes following. The disciplined trader understands this difference. They don't try to kill emotion, they simply refuse to let emotion be the captain of the ship. This battle between emotion and discipline is most visible after big wins. Losses hurt, but wins can be just as dangerous. After a huge winning day, the storm takes a different form. It becomes euphoria. The trader feels unstoppable, like the market has finally revealed its secrets. The temptation is to risk more, to trade recklessly, because I can't lose now. Many traders have blown accounts not after losing streaks, but after winning streaks. Success makes them drunk, and in that intoxication, they forget their discipline. The storm of overconfidence can be just as destructive as the storm of despair. Anchoring yourself in discipline means having the same behavior whether you are up or down. Win or lose, discipline is constant. This consistency is what creates long-term survival. Without it, you are just drifting, carried wherever the emotional winds blow. You might survive a few storms by luck, but eventually, one will sink you. There is a brutal truth every trader must accept. The market does not care about your feelings. It doesn't care that you are on a losing streak, that you are desperate to pay rent, that you've been waiting all week for a trade. The market does what it does. The only thing you control is whether you act with discipline or with emotion. When you realize this, you stop fighting the market and start fighting yourself. And that is the real battle of trading. One of the most difficult storms to endure is the slow one, the boredom of waiting. There are days when the market moves sideways, teasing but never confirming. You sit, watching candles form and die, feeling time slip away. This boredom gnaws at you. It whispers, just take something, anything. At least you'll feel alive. Many traders lose not because of catastrophic moves, but because they couldn't endure the boredom. They sought excitement in a profession that punishes excitement. The disciplined trader anchors themselves even in boredom. They remind themselves that no trade is better than a bad trade. They remind themselves that waiting is part of winning. They anchor not in action, but in patience. And when the real move finally comes, they are rested, focused, ready, not drained from chasing shadows. Another storm comes in the form of external pressure. Maybe your family doubts you. Maybe you see your friends working stable jobs while you sit alone in front of charts. Maybe the bills are piling up and the market feels like your only hope. External storms are powerful because they mix with your internal emotions. Fear is amplified by shame, greed is fueled by desperation, and patience is crushed by the weight of responsibility. In those moments, discipline can feel impossible. But discipline is not about waiting for the perfect emotional state. It's about acting correctly, even when you feel broken inside. The strongest discipline is not built in calm seas. It's forged in storms. When you look back years later, you won't remember the easy days. You'll remember the nights when everything inside you screamed to break your rules, but you didn't. That's where identity is built. That's where traders separate themselves from gamblers. It helps to visualize discipline as a contract with your future self. Every time you stick to your plan, you're honoring that contract. Every time you break it, you're betraying the person you want to become. The future version of you, the consistent, profitable, confident trader, relies on today's discipline. Without it, that future never arrives. This mental shift can be powerful. Suddenly, each disciplined act feels meaningful, not just as a trade, but as a vote for who you are becoming. In storms, discipline also protects your mind. Losses hurt less when you know you followed your rules. Missed trades sting less when you know you acted according to plan. Even big drawdowns feel manageable when you can say, I did what I was supposed to do. But when you break discipline, every outcome feels poisoned. Win or lose, you feel dirty, unsettled, untrustworthy. That psychological weight becomes unbearable, and many traders quit not because of losses but because they can't live with themselves. The truth is, discipline is not a straitjacket. It's a shield. It doesn't restrict you. It protects you. It protects your money, your confidence, your future. Without it, you are exposed, naked before the storm. With it, you may still get hit, but you'll survive. And in trading, survival is everything. So, when the emotional storms come, and they will, don't look for a way to stop them. You can't stop fear, greed, boredom, or pressure. You can only anchor yourself in discipline. You can only say, no matter what I feel, my rules stand. That anchor won't make the storm go away, but it will make sure you don't get swept away with it. And over time, something remarkable happens. The storms don't weaken, you do. The emotions still rise, but their power over you fades. You've endured enough to know that storms pass, losses end, wins come and go. You begin to trade not as a victim of emotion but as its master. And that mastery, built one disciplined decision at a time, is the true mark of a trader who can last. One of the hardest truths in trading is accepting how little control you actually have. You can study the charts for hours, master every indicator, backtest thousands of strategies, and still the market will do whatever it wants. This is where most traders fall into a dangerous trap. They mistake preparation for control. They start to believe that if they analyze enough, predict enough, or push hard enough, they can bend the market to their will. But the market is too big, too complex, too indifferent. The illusion of control is one of the biggest enemies of discipline. When traders feel in control, they loosen their grip on discipline. They take bigger risks because they believe they've figured it out. They ignore stop losses because they're convinced the market will turn back in their favor. They add to losing trades because they think they can't be wrong. All of these actions come from a place of false confidence, a belief that effort can override randomness. This illusion is seductive because it gives comfort. It makes traders feel powerful. But it is a lie, and it is a costly one. The disciplined trader understands the truth. You can't control the market, but you can control yourself. That's the only real control you'll ever have. You can control how much you risk, when you enter, when you exit, and, most importantly, when you do nothing. Everything else is noise. By accepting this, you free yourself from the constant frustration of trying to predict what cannot be predicted. Discipline is not about forcing the market to obey you. It's about forcing yourself to obey your rules, regardless of what the market does. Letting go of control is not easy, because humans crave certainty. In life, we're taught that the harder you work, the more predictable your results. Study hard, get good grades, work long hours, get promoted. But trading laughs at this logic. You can do everything right and still lose money. You can make mistakes and still win. This contradiction breaks many traders because they expect the market to reward effort fairly. It doesn't. The only reward for effort in trading is consistency of process, not consistency of outcome. And that's where discipline becomes the bridge between effort and results. Think of a casino. Casinos don't know which customer will win or lose on a given spin, but they don't need to know. They rely on probabilities and discipline. Their edge is small, but their consistency is absolute. They don't panic when someone hits the jackpot because they trust their rules. They don't celebrate too wildly when the house wins big because they know variance will swing back. The casino never falls for the illusion of control. They don't try to guess the next outcome. They trust the math and their discipline. And in the long run, the math always works. The undisciplined trader, however, wants control now. They can't stand variance. If they lose, they believe they must fix it immediately. If they win, they believe they must capitalize immediately. They're always chasing control, always trying to force outcomes, always trying to make the market give them what they want. This mindset leads to revenge trading, overtrading, and eventually destruction. The irony is that the more you try to control the market, the less control you actually have over yourself. You become reactive, impulsive, and reckless. True discipline comes from surrender. Not surrender to losing, but surrender to uncertainty. You accept that you can't know what will happen next, and you don't need to. All you need to do is execute your plan with precision and consistency. That's your control. That's your edge. By letting go of the need to control outcomes, you gain mastery over your actions. You trade with clarity because you are no longer attached to forcing the market to cooperate. But letting go is not passive. It's active discipline. It takes immense strength to close a trade when your heart is screaming to hold. It takes courage to sit on your hands when boredom tempts you to take a random setup. It takes patience to watch the market run without you and not chase it. Discipline is not the absence of feeling. It's the mastery of action despite feeling. And this mastery is only possible when you accept the limits of your control. One of the most powerful exercises a trader can do is to separate process from outcome. Write down every trade you take, not just in terms of profit and loss, but in terms of whether you followed your rules. A losing trade that followed your system is a success. A winning trade that broke your system is a failure. This mental shift is uncomfortable at first. because we are conditioned to measure everything in results. But over time, you realize that discipline in process leads to consistency in results. Not every trade, not every week, but over the long horizon that truly matters. This is why trading is as much about patience as it is about skill. Discipline means playing the long game when everything inside you wants to focus on the short game. It means thinking like a casino, not a gambler. It means resisting the illusion that one trade, one day, or even 1 month defines you. The truth is, you are not defined by a single outcome. You are defined by your ability to stick to your edge through thousands of outcomes. The temptation to control never goes away completely. Even seasoned traders feel it. There will always be moments when the urge to force things rises again, when you feel you can outsmart the randomness. But experience teaches you that control is an illusion, and discipline is the only reality. You stop fighting the market and start cooperating with it. You stop demanding certainty and start respecting probability. This is the mental shift that separates amateurs from professionals. The more you let go, the freer you become. The stress decreases because you no longer tie your identity to every trade. The emotional swings flatten because you no longer expect the market to obey you. The discipline grows stronger because you no longer bargain with your rules. Instead of wrestling with uncertainty, you dance with it. Instead of trying to predict every move, you prepare for every outcome. This is the paradox of trading. The less you try to control, the more control you actually have. In the end, the market is a mirror. It reflects back not just your strategy, but your psychology. If you are desperate for control, the market will expose that desperation. If you are disciplined, the market will reward that discipline, not every time, but enough times over the long run to make you profitable. The market doesn't owe you certainty, but it offers opportunity. And the only way to capture that opportunity is to anchor yourself in discipline and let go of the illusion of control. So the next time you feel the storm of emotion rising, ask yourself, am I trying to control the market, or am I controlling myself? That question alone can break the illusion and bring you back to reality. Remember, trading is not about winning every trade. It's about surviving long enough for your discipline to pay off. The market is vast, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. But your actions? Those belong entirely to you. And when you master those, you master the only part of trading that truly matters. Discipline is tested most fiercely, not in moments of action, but in moments of waiting. For many traders, the hardest part of the job is not pulling the trigger, it's sitting still. It's watching the charts for hours and seeing nothing that matches your plan. It's watching the market move without you and resisting the urge to chase it. It's telling yourself not yet when everything inside you is screaming, do something. Waiting feels painful because humans are wired to equate action with progress. But in trading, more action often means more destruction. The true professional understands that doing nothing is often the most disciplined decision of all. When you start out in trading, waiting feels like wasted time. You imagine that every tick, every candle, every movement is an opportunity, and if you're not in a trade, you're falling behind. You want to feel involved, you want to feel in control. You believe that by clicking more buttons, you're doing your job. But this is an illusion. Trading is not about constant activity. It's about selective activity. Most of your time should be spent waiting for your edge to appear, not forcing trades to exist where none do. The market is a battlefield, but you are not a soldier firing constantly, you are a sniper waiting patiently for the perfect shot. The undisciplined trader hates silence. They need noise, they need movement, they need constant stimulation. If the market is slow, they get restless. Restlessness leads to impulsiveness. Impulsiveness leads to bad trades. And bad trades lead to losses that could have been avoided simply by waiting. Ironically, these traders convince themselves they are being productive by always being in the market, but in reality they are destroying their edge with overexposure. They confuse activity with progress, when in fact, progress in trading is often invisible. It's the trade you didn't take, the loss you avoided, the patience you held. The power of patience shows itself in two places: before you enter and after you enter. Before you enter, patience means waiting for the setup that matches your edge exactly, not almost, not close, not good enough, but exactly. It means ignoring the temptation to bend your rules just to feel active. It means accepting that some days you won't trade at all, and that's okay. After you enter, patience means letting the trade play out without interference. It means not exiting too early because you're afraid to lose unrealized gains. It means not moving your stop loss wider because you're afraid to take the hit. It means trusting your plan even when the market tempts you to abandon it. The market tests your patience by dangling opportunity in front of you. It gives you half-formed setups that look tempting but don't fully match your rules. It shows you a candle pattern that feels like it should work, even though your system says otherwise. It rewards bad behavior by sometimes letting those impulsive trades win. That reward is the most dangerous because it teaches you to value impatience. You start believing you can outsmart your own system, that you can shortcut the process, that you don't need discipline if you're clever enough. But eventually the market punishes you, and the punishment is always greater than the reward. The disciplined trader understands that patience is not passive, it's active control. It's the ability to restrain your impulses in the heat of the moment. It's the ability to choose long-term consistency over short-term excitement. It's the ability to see the market running without you and still sit still. To outsiders, it may look like you're doing nothing. But inside, you're doing the hardest work a trader can do, mastering yourself. The amateur thinks discipline is about doing more, but the professional knows it's about doing less, but with precision. Think about fishing. The fisherman does not throw his line into every puddle he sees. He waits for the right spot, the right conditions, the right moment. Hours may pass without a bite, but he does not abandon the process. He knows that patience is part of the game. Trading is no different. You don't need 1,000 trades. You need a handful of good ones executed with discipline. But if you lack patience, you'll never allow those good ones to reveal themselves because you'll waste your energy on noise. Patience is painful because it feels like you're missing out. The fear of missing out drives many traders to abandon discipline. They see the market moving, and even though they know they don't have a valid setup, they jump in because they can't stand the idea of being left behind. But here's the truth. Missing out is part of trading. You will not catch every move. You are not supposed to catch every move. Your job is not to capture every pip. It's to capture your setup consistently. Every trade you don't take that doesn't fit your plan is a victory of discipline. Every trade you force out of impatience is a step closer to failure. The irony is that patience is also the fastest path to growth. By waiting for high-quality setups, you reduce unnecessary losses. By holding your trades according to your plan, you let your winners grow. By doing less, you end up making more. But the mind resists this truth because it feels counterintuitive. It feels like success should come from doing more, from working harder, from pushing faster. Trading flips this logic upside down. The harder you push, the less disciplined you become. The less disciplined you become, the faster you lose. Patience feels like slowing down, but in reality, it speeds up your journey to consistency. There's another layer to patience that traders rarely discuss: patience with yourself. Most people demand instant success. They want to master trading in months, not years. They want to see profits quickly, and when they don't, they grow frustrated. This impatience with the learning process leads to system hopping, constant strategy changes, and never truly mastering any approach. The disciplined trader understands that becoming consistently profitable is a marathon, not a sprint. You don't master this game overnight. You stumble, you learn, you grow. You build discipline through time and repetition. Patience with yourself is as important as patience with the market. Without it, you burn out before you ever reach your potential. The truth is, trading is a game of waiting. Waiting for your edge, waiting for your plan to play out, waiting for consistency to show itself over hundreds of trades, not just a handful. Every successful trader you admire has mastered this art of waiting. They don't chase every candle, they don't force every move, and they don't demand instant success. They understand that discipline lives in patience, and they accept the pain of waiting because they know it's the price of long-term success. The undisciplined trader looks for shortcuts. The disciplined trader builds endurance. The undisciplined trader cannot tolerate boredom. The disciplined trader embraces it. The undisciplined trader fears missing out. The disciplined trader knows there will always be another trade. The difference is not skill or intelligence, it's patience. The market is designed to test your patience because it knows most traders can't handle it. The moment you master it, you step into a level of discipline that most traders will never reach. So, the next time you sit in front of the charts and feel the itch to act, remember this. Doing nothing is sometimes the most powerful move you can make. Every great trade is born out of patience. Every blown account is born out of impatience. The choice is always in your hands. And when you choose patience, you choose discipline. And when you choose discipline, you choose survival. And in the end, survival is what gives you the chance to thrive in this game. Discipline is not built on good days. It is forged in the storms, the days when the market seems chaotic, when your strategy feels like it has stopped working, when temptation surrounds you, and when nothing seems to go your way. Any trader can follow a plan when trades are winning. Any trader can feel composed when profits are flowing. The true test comes when the market turns against you, when you face drawdowns, when you feel doubt creeping in, and when you are tempted to throw away all discipline and chase relief. It is in these moments that traders either ascend to professionalism or collapse into the cycle of failure. Think about what happens when the market delivers a string of losses. The beginner immediately questions their system. They start tinkering, adding new indicators, switching timeframes, or abandoning their method altogether. Each change feels like action, but in reality, it's desperation disguised as productivity. They lose sight of the bigger picture. Even the best edge has losing streaks. The disciplined trader, on the other hand, accepts that losses are part of the game. They don't abandon their rules after 5 losing trades, because they know their system is measured over hundreds of trades, not a handful. They don't let temporary pain push them into permanent mistakes. Their discipline allows them to endure the storm without losing themselves. This is where most traders fail, not in their technical knowledge but in their ability to stay steady when nothing feels steady. They crave certainty, but trading offers none. They want control, but markets cannot be controlled. Discipline bridges that gap. Discipline says, I cannot control the market, but I can control myself. And that control is what separates survival from destruction. Consider the trader who starts revenge trading after a loss. They feel the sting of defeat, and their ego screams for redemption. They double their position size, chase any setup they see, and force trades that don't meet their rules. Their discipline shatters, and one mistake becomes 5, then 10, and suddenly the account is gone. Now imagine another trader facing the same loss. They feel the sting too. No one is immune to emotion, but they breathe, pause, and step away if necessary. They respect their stop loss. They don't increase risk. They don't let the market bait them into impulsiveness. They let discipline carry them through the pain. One trader destroys themselves. The other preserves their capital and their mind. The difference isn't skill, it's discipline. True discipline is not just about following rules when it's easy. It's about holding those rules when every fiber of your being wants to break them. It's about resisting greed when you feel invincible, and resisting fear when you feel vulnerable. It's about keeping your head clear when others are panicking or euphoric. It's about remembering that consistency comes not from emotion but from repetition, from sticking to a process regardless of outcome. Discipline also requires humility. The undisciplined trader believes they can outsmart the market, that they know better than their plan, that they can bend the rules just this once. But the disciplined trader accepts their limits. They know they can't predict every move, and they don't need to. They know they can't eliminate losses, and they don't try to. They know their job is not to be right all the time, it's to execute their edge consistently. Humility protects them from the arrogance that destroys accounts. The storms in trading don't only come from the market, they come from within. Doubt, greed, fear, impatience, and ego are internal storms that test your discipline daily. You may think the market is your enemy, but the market is neutral. It doesn't care about you. The real enemy is undisciplined thought. The voice that says, double your size. The whisper that says, move your stop, it'll come back. The impulse that says, just one more trade. Discipline is the armor that protects you from yourself. Without it, no system, no strategy, no indicator will save you. Think of discipline as a muscle. You don't build it by avoiding struggle. You build it by facing struggle and choosing control over chaos. Every time you follow your stop loss, your muscle strengthens. Every time you walk away from a chart instead of forcing a trade, your muscle strengthens. Every time you wait for your edge instead of chasing noise, your muscle strengthens. Discipline is not built overnight, it is built trade by trade, choice by choice, moment by moment. The greatest traders in history didn't succeed because they had magical systems. They succeeded because they mastered themselves. They survived the storms because discipline anchored them when emotions tried to sweep them away. They stayed consistent when others quit. They endured drawdowns without losing faith. They treated trading like a long-term craft, not a short-term gamble. That is why they lasted when the majority disappeared. And here lies the ultimate truth. Discipline is survival. As long as you stay disciplined, you stay in the game. And as long as you stay in the game, you give yourself the chance to win. The undisciplined trader burns out quickly. The disciplined trader endures. The undisciplined trader sees trading as a sprint. The disciplined trader knows it's a marathon. The undisciplined trader chases money. The disciplined trader chases process. And in the end, process creates money. So, when the market tests you, and it will, ask yourself one question. Will I let this storm break my discipline, or will I let my discipline carry me through the storm? Every trader faces this choice. Most choose emotion. Few choose discipline. But only those few survive long enough to succeed. Your greatest edge in trading is not your indicator, not your strategy, not your broker, not your mentor. Your greatest edge is your discipline. It is the foundation upon which everything else rests. Lose it, and you lose everything. Guard it, and you give yourself the chance to build something extraordinary. And when you finally realize that discipline isn't about restriction but about freedom, the freedom from fear, the freedom from chaos, the freedom from blowing account after account, you will understand why discipline beats everything else in this game. The market doesn't reward the smartest or the fastest, it rewards the most disciplined. So the next time the market tests you, remember this. Storms pass, losses happen, emotions rise, but discipline endures. Discipline is the anchor that keeps you steady when the winds of greed, fear, and impatience try to pull you away. Discipline is the quiet strength that carries you through the hardest days. Discipline is what turns chaos into order, noise into clarity, and traders into professionals. And when you look back years from now, you'll realize that it wasn't the perfect trade that made your career. It wasn't the lucky win or the big profit. It was the countless moments of discipline, the times you chose patience over impulse, rules over temptation, and survival over recklessness. That is the true legacy of a professional trader.